Now we begin in Ivory Coast, where two men are claiming the presidency. Alassane Ouattara is being widely recognized as the newly elected president. And on Tuesday, he's asking a West African bank to cut incumbent President Laurent Gbagbo's access to state funds. Meanwhile, Gbagbo is refusing to relinquish his grip on the presidential palace, state television, and the army. Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan is calling on Mr. Gbagbo to hand over power immediately. During a recent conversation with Henry Ajumogobia, Nigerian Foreign Affairs Minister, I asked him what will happen if Gbagbo refuses to step aside.
Well, it's a call not just by the West African leaders, which was a unanimous call. All the leaders in ECOWAS were unanimous in recognizing Alassane Ouattara as the president-elect in the Ivory Coast election following the announcement of the results by the Commission, and asking President Gbagbo to step down. Now, the fact that it's a unanimous call of not just his peers in the region and beyond that, the African Union, the European Union, and the United Nations. I think that's significant pressure to be that's being brought to bear on President Gbagbo. The next step would be sanctions that would be targeted at himself and his regime, and we hope that reason will prevail. The ultimate intention is to try and avoid a resurgence of violence and conflict in that country, which has such enormous potential that it would be a pity if we allowed it to slide back into the sort of violence that we've seen in the past.
Yeah, many times African leaders are accused of not taking decisive action because they themselves in their countries have, issues with the process there, how they came to power. Do you think this is a test of that kind of situation to see how, to what extent the African leaders can rise up to the occasion?
Well, I think they did. I think President Jonathan was unequivocal in his condemnation of the actions of President Gbagbo in Cote d'Ivoire, and I'm glad that he had unanimous support within the ECOWAS authority to take that position. The next stage, of course, we're limited in ECOWAS in terms of the sanctions regime that we are able to employ, and so we've done what we can do, which is the first step of suspending Ivory Coast from meetings. But we will support, whatever other stringent measures are taken by the international community towards trying to persuade President Gbagbo to step down. I think there have been indications that we will find opportunities for him to serve in other capacities in West Africa or in Africa. The international community is willing to accommodate that as a possibility in terms of an exit option for him. But I think it's really to try and maintain the pressure on him to do what's right.
Now, Honorable Minister Ajumogobia, the WikiLeaks has dished out quite a bit on Nigeria, and specifically there have been issues on corruption. Now, what's your reaction? And if you may begin with the case of Pfizer, the drug-making company.
Well, WikiLeaks I think it's unfortunate that issues that conversations that people have had in private and think are confidential are being put in the public domain. Of course, it creates great embarrassment to the individuals who are concerned and to some of the governments that are concerned. And I think that the indignation that's felt almost universally is understandable for that reason. I'm not sure that all the disclosures are necessarily factual, but time will tell.
Yeah, and any time some stuff comes out regarding Nigeria, the aspect of corruption is always in there. And one of the cables is talking about how high-ranking government officials in Nigeria demand for millions of dollars in order to allow oil to get out of the country. What is the government doing to, get this stigma out of the country?
Well, I mean, corruption isn't unique to Nigeria. Corruption is something that all governments are fighting, and the Nigerian government is no exception. We've set up specific institutions to tackle this. The nature of corruption, because the conspiratorial nature of of corruption makes it often difficult to detect or to prosecute, because you have two willing partners, the bribe giver and the bribe taker, who both doing something illegal and conspire to do so. Now, in terms of specific allegations, and wherever those allegations come to light, they will be investigated. We have the EFCC, Economic Crimes Financial Commission, that was actually set up to try and tackle financial crime, and is doing so quite effectively. I mean, it's a challenge, admittedly a challenge, but it's a challenge that's being taken on.